wanted to let everyone know kind of what this whole thing is about. This is kind of, well, Halloween's always been my favorite holiday. I love it. Christmas is fun too. But, yeah, I think Shuji mentioned this maybe 2020, in COVID times, that this existed, maybe earlier, but I think this was the same timeline. It was just a super simple ceremony where I just covered up my one little Buddha statue on my altar, lit a little incense, and put some type of treat that one of my buddies, the one that passed, that kind of set me on this whole, it's a catalyst for why I'm here, basically. I had all sorts of unresolved issues with that situation, karma and, personal blame. You feel responsible even if there's, so all that was kind of brought up in that simple ceremony for me. So I have, every year there's someone I think about my past. I'm like, who's someone that just had some type of unresolved issue, whether it's on my part, on their part, on the situation's part, some type of part, it just keeps coming up, negative emotions towards it. So this has been a really important ceremony for me, and this is the first time I've ever done it with other people. It's always just by myself, so it's kind of fun. But what is this whole thing? It's traditionally called Sejiki, which means feeding the hungry ghosts. But apparently Sejiki is turned into a politically incorrect term in Japan. I didn't look into why, but to the point where the Soto Zen the Soto Zen headquarters is like, we're gonna rename this. And now they call it the Sejiki, the food offering ceremony, or the food offering assembly. And this idea of the hungry ghosts, it goes all the way back to, I might even be pre-Buddhist, because it's one of the 6 destinations on the wheel of samsara, one of the possible rebirths that the Buddha talked about way back in the day. And whether you think about it as a place you actually will be reborn into, or if you think about it as a state that your mind is born into at any point in the day, or both, I can kind of give you the rundown. So there's 3 favorable rebirths and there's 3 unfavorable rebirths. The top one is the Deva realm, the God realm, where things are going so good that you never even think to study the Dharma because everything's just really great. I've had those times in my life too, oddly enough. It's like, I don't think I even need to sit meditation. I'm feeling absolutely wonderful. Right? And then the people below, so the next, it's the next least favorable, but still in the favorable rebirth. So the second one is the fighting gods, or the angry gods, or the jealous gods, or the gods who are also in the God realm, but their God realm isn't as good as the one above them, so they're jealous, and they spend a lot of their time just being like, ooh, I wish I could be in the really good God realm. So I've been there before too. The third favorable rebirth is the human realm, and it's favorable because things aren't as bad as in the 3 bottom ones, and they're not as good as the ones above. So life is still kind of, but it's still good enough where you can actually sit and think about things. The first unfavorable rebirth is in the animal realm, and it's unfavorable just to the point that they're so busy with either survival or eating, and their minds aren't as developed, although I've run across some bodhisattva dogs and cats before. So you're still able to practice as an animal, but it's not to the point, to the extent that you can as a human being. And then the second unfavorable rebirth is the one that is the topic of this talk, which is the hungry ghost, or the pretas. And so a hungry ghost, in the traditional sense, I believe they have like a really big stomach, so they're super hungry all the time. They have a little teeny tiny mouth, so they can't get enough food into their belly to satisfy themselves. And they're like, and they're a little bit different in China and Japan. I'll explain that in a second. But basically, it's the idea of someone that is so consumed with desire that they just can't get enough, right? That pops up in me with YouTube sometimes late at night when I should be to bed. I want to watch the next video. I'm hungry ghost realm all of a sudden. Right? And then the last one is the hell being. So you're reborn into a hell, and you're in hell, so you're preoccupied with your suffering so much that you're not able to really think much about practice at all. I've been there before too. I've talked about it here before. So those are the 6 different possibilities. Either where you're going to be reborn, or where you're going to be reborn in your psychology, basically, your body and mind. So the Ghost Festival kind of comes out of this idea of it's this idea of the hungry ghost kind of combined with the ancestor worship of Confucianism. So in the Chinese mind and in the Japanese mind as well, they consider this ritual as feeding all those spirits that don't have living family members. When Buddhism came into China, it was seen as a foreign religion that was very anti-family, which makes sense because you're leaving home, leaving your family behind. You're not making money for the family. You're not making more family, so you're not going to have ancestors to support you later on. And the idea came about that with this ceremony, the Buddhist Sangha would actually be feeding all these loose ghosts that don't have family members anymore. Let's see. And I mean, for us too, it kind of makes sense because it's a way to, in one sense, a way to honor and remember our own family and ancestors, but also it's a way to come to grips and work with past difficult relationships and situations. Because you literally, like, I put my aunt's name on this, literally in your hands. You've made it manifest, so it can't just creep around in your mind anymore. It's, for whatever reason, easy to ignore these types of things, but when you actually have to bring them out in front of class and give a presentation on it, so to speak, you really have to own what is going on in here. So the place where this all started, like specifically the ghost festivals where they do all these food offerings to the ancestors, is called the Ulambana, or the Ulambana Sutra, which is an apocryphal text. So a text that they said the Buddha wrote, but we can tell nowadays that somebody in China was like, I'm going to write this. The Buddha probably would have said this anyway. This is how bodhisattvas work. So in a sense, this is channeling the Buddha that is us. And the story there is that, they call him Mokurin in Japanese and Maudgalyayana in Sanskrit, so Mokurin's a little less of a mouthful. And he's one of the Buddha's top disciples, and they said that he had magic powers. He could check in on people's rebirth. So his mother had passed, and he checked in on his mother's rebirth. And to his surprise and shock, he found out that she had been reborn as a hungry ghost, and that all the food offerings he'd been giving her had just been bursting into flames. So the Chinese version is when you have the food offering, you put it up to your mouth and you're a hungry ghost, and because you're a hungry ghost, it bursts into flames before you're able to get into your stomach. And so you're still just consumed with desire. So she had too much desire in her human life, and then in her hungry ghost life, even more so. She literally couldn't get any sustenance. So he went to the Buddha, to ask what can I possibly do? It's my mom, and I'm giving her offering this food to her, and she's not able to get any of it. So the Buddha's idea was that they could make an offering at the end of the summer practice period, the summer Ango. So the calendar of a Buddhist monk goes in 3-month chunks. The beginning, I'm not sure I think they begin at the Ango. We'll just say at the beginning of our regular year. So at the beginning of the year, you're just practicing. You're wandering around, visiting teachers, going to different monasteries, learning things, practicing. And then in the next 3-month chunk, which would be for us, it's the summer Ango, although in India, it was like the rainy season and summer thing. Another season, I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. They would hide away just because it would rain so much that they literally couldn't walk down the roads. So they just huddled together in caves to begin with, and then they finally huddled together in what we would call monasteries. But for 3 months, they just practice. It's all they just practice, super focused on practicing. And then they do another 3-month period where they wander around, they meet with teachers and do whatever. And then they have another 3-month practice period where they get together and they practice. So the Buddha's idea was at the end of the summer retreat, because they build up such a huge store of karma, or of merit, of good karma, from this good intention they had with their practice, that he's like, if you were to give food to the monks at the end of their practice period, their good vibes would be so powerful that it would just catapult that food to your mother in the hungry ghost realm, and she would finally be able to eat some food. So that's, they're like, oh, so all the monks now get together and do this ceremony in order to, provide sustenance to the hungry ghosts, quote unquote. And kind of going on what I talked about earlier, this was a way to protect themselves as well from being seen as being unfilial, being anti-family. They said that they were basically offering a public service that included placating dangerous spirits without families. Which makes sense if you think of, even in a sense that like maybe there's not really these angry spirits that are running around that we're placating, maybe they are. But if we're talking about the angry spirits that are alive inside of us, is cast off memories or unskillful relationships with the past, it would be better to have a time where you literally had to like take this up and look at it and like own that karma and really work with it in a positive way. And this also aligns with their goal, of universal salvation for all beings, the beings that are this being, even like the partial memory beings that we have in our minds that take up residence in us and just kind of live on with their own power. Yeah, and that's kind of how I come to this practice, this ceremony as a practice. I talked about how the first time I did it alone, which is fine, but it's a very different experience when you're doing it in an entire group of people. Come at it from a different angle, different ideas, and you really have to, think about it, work on it, bring things together, make them happen. It's not a psychologized way of working with these old relationships, but it's literally just like what Zazen is. Zazen sometimes is in the mind, but a lot of it's in the body. This is taking these relationships that we need to focus on and bringing it into the body instead of just, because there's an infinite amount of pathways that you can just ignore, unskillful relationships that I had, or put them aside, or I'll deal with them later, or, any number of, I wouldn't say excuses, but ways to cultivate the unwholesome roots. I always talk about of ignoring, holding on, and pushing away. When we write a name down on this ceremony, we think for a long time about like what food would they like, or bringing all these old situations, emotions back to our life, and actually just walking in a big circle and banging on a drum really loud in the presence of the whole sangha. It's a very different way of working with emotions than we traditionally would do in the West, right? In the West, we'd sit and talk about it and whatever, which is good. But I see it almost as an ancient technology for dealing with emotions. People used to just dance like crazy. Like how often have you just, when you got sad, you just dance like crazy? Well, that's what we used to do. Get in a big group and dance. And somehow it worked for them, but we got away from that. So this is kind of like bringing a little sliver of that into our daily life nowadays. Yeah, so I think that's it for that talk. That's pretty much covers all the stuff. So the last aspect of it, after you have done the walk, played the instruments, listened to the names, then we get to finally have some of the food, maybe a little bit, if anybody wants. It's not supposed to be healthy food. But any that's left over, we'll keep it and we'll put it out for the next time everybody comes together, right? So we're using this food to sustain ourselves in order to continue to further work with these hungry ghosts that are inside of us, right? So everyone's got, I guess, have you met anyone that doesn't have some type of conflicting relationship from their past? Every relationship's great, just perfect. Never had a difficulty with a single person. Entire life. I've tried, but even then, life just kind of will slap you every now and then. So we take this time to just kind of also relax, put it in perspective, have a little bit of fun with some bad food, and hope that we can be skillful with our ghosts. If you see them, just bow to them. So, thank you.
What's the meaning of the cut out hands?
Oh, that's right. That is for the hungry ghosts that don't have any hands. They can borrow a hand. I thought that was very precious when I read that. What is that? I'm like, that's so nice.
It's like, let me give you a hand.
Let me give you a hand. Absolutely, yeah.
And what are the strips hanging down?
Those are I should have brought the book out that has it's different bodhisattvas and like deva kings that that guard the different directions. Able to channel some merit through them to the hungry ghosts and stuff, yeah. Oh, that's right, yeah, any questions? It's been, like I said, it's been a real while.
How does this festival relate to Oban?
It's a separate, it's kind of like how Omaha is made up of all these separate cities. So Oban is one big thing, and Sejiki's like a little suburb. So it happens within the overall Oban celebration, but it's considered its own separate aspect of it. That's kind of why we kind of pull it, because they also do their thing where they put the little lanterns in the river and send the goats down the river in the boats. We don't necessarily do that, but it's so close to Halloween in certain aspects that people in the States tend to celebrate it very close to Halloween. Not quite in conjunction with it, but it's got that same feel. It feels like to me it just feels like a fall thing, although for them it's summer for whatever reason. Anything else? When we line up, we'll do the same line up. I'll start at there, grab whatever. I can't, not funny, the ironic, is it ironic? Is that I recently finally diagnosed a long running gluten issue that I've had, so I probably won't be able to eat very many of those things on there without having to.
Chili peppers.
Juji fruits.
Juji fruits might have to be it. So, yeah, well, that's just how impermanence is, how these things work. Can't hold on to anything. Yeah. No other questions? We will close it out otherwise.
Want to do a formal bow out?
Yeah, so we'll do that, and then I'll do the 3 bows, 3 full prostrations. Do I offer incense during that? We do the all beings, right?
Yeah, you would.
Okay, yeah, let's do the full. It's a
with
celebration.
grass space and time, yeah.
Let's do the full thing.
Okay.
So we get.
Return your cushions back and then stand behind your cushions. Be in front. Any announcements at all, I guess?
Oh shoot. I'm trying to think. I never even looked, other than just the regular stuff, and then we have the meditate.
Yeah, world peace ceremony next Sunday.
Oh shoot, yeah, great, world peace ceremony. Are there any? This intro to Zen is coming up next month.
That's November 16th.
16th, yeah.
And 17th kid, that weekend, she will be here.
That's right.
Grandma's family.
Oh, that's right.
So that'll be-
The whole crew will be here. I think that's it. It's not too much. This was the big one for me, so I kind of blotted everything else out. So sick, but, you know, I don't know how skillful that is, but that is what happened in working with it. Let's see. Maybe turn this down. Oh, it was by George, but you can leave that there for now.